Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another video. In this video I go over my latest computer upgrade to turn my machine into an extreme programmer PC. If you don't know me, I'm Dustin Brett. I'm a software developer in Canada. I do videos on software development, tech, that kind of thing. I also worked in IT for about 7 years, worked in development for about five or six, I guess, maybe even more. Yeah, I don't know. Feels time flies, you know. Been building computers for 20 plus years, I'd say. Professionally, I've built thousands of computers for different companies and individuals at different times in my IT career, mostly. And today I'd like to discuss the parts I picked, the ways I did my research, and just how I built a PC. So I've got a bit of stuff, and just keep it kind of informal and just explain to you guys everything I've done. So let's just kind of jump in. So these are the parts that I've got, basically, that I bought. So this is an upgrade, but it's a big upgrade. I mean, basically, no more, if you see here, new processor, new motherboard, new RAM, new hard drive. So the only thing I've really kept is the power supply and the case. And I think I got the DVD burner in there still, because you never know when you're going to need a DVD burner. I've never needed it, never used it once, but one day, you know, the day I need it, it'll be there. What else did I keep? I also brought one of the hard drives over just as a secondary hard drive. And I've got a little video here I've made of making it that I'll just start playing in the background here. It'll play above us here, in which I kind of do some unboxing. There I am in two places at once. And the processor that I picked for this is the Ryzen 3900X, which is one of the better, the Zen 2 processors. Probably one of the best, not the best though. There's the 3950X as well, and that's not even getting into the Threadrippers and stuff. But for Ryzen's, it's pretty good. And the reason that I went with that versus like the 5900X, the new Zen 3, is basically it's just really hard to get stock. I'll just go over to the browser here, and I've got here's the parts that I picked basically. And if I show you the processor here, and talk about the 5900X. That's essentially the model, the newer version that I've been waiting for a while. And as you see here, it's still everything out of stock. And I was able to get the processor for around 600 as well. Right here it's saying 660, but I got it for about 600. So it's about 150, 160 bucks more for the 5900X. But if you can get it, that'd be great as well. It's the same amount of cores and threads, but it has a few improvements, better for gaming and stuff from what I hear, and it seems to be better single-threaded performance as well. And some of the ways that I kind of look into performance, let's get into the processor then and just talk about it a little bit and talk about what I had before. So yeah, if you can go onto AMD's website and look at all their processors and pick the one you're interested in, go to specifications and kind of see information about it. So you see here it has 12 cores, 24 threads, similar to the hyper-threading with Intel, where you have like 8 cores, 16 thread or something like that. They have a 10 core chip as well. And I decided to go with Ryzen. A lot of it because of some of the benchmarks that I'll show you in a minute here, but also it's pretty affordable too. And just for the price range I was looking at for around 600, 650, this really was the best bang for my buck. Other than maybe paying 150 more and getting the 5900X, but it wasn't in stock, you know. But I did make sure to account for getting the board. As you see, I'm showing here the Tough Gaming X570 board. The X570s are very much so compatible with the Zen 3s, and I could have used that board with the newer processor had it come in stock. And I've been really happy with that board as well, by the way. It's an Asus board, and I'm a fan of Asus boards. My past one was an Asus board as well. So yeah, my past processor was the Intel i5-4690K, which I've had for quite a while. This is a 4th generation Intel. They're almost at 11th generation for the desktops now, so it's pretty old. And you see its specs here. It wasn't even hyper-threaded, so it's 4 core, and that was it, just 4 core, 4 thread. So compared to now where I have, what was it here, 24 threads? Yeah, so it's quite a bit more. What's this? The quick math on that? Like 6 times more? Yeah, it's like 6 times more basically in threads, and like 3 times more in cores. So. And it's noticeable. I'll show you guys right here. I have it going. Yeah, you see there, this is Task Manager right now. So you see all these little boxes are the threads. And before it just used to be a lonely little 4. And now I have so many little processors working to help me. And it's noticeable. Like right now I'm recording this. I have a million things open sometimes. And you see right now it's 5-7%. It's almost nothing. And there's the RAM there. I've got 32 gigs of RAM now from 16, what I had before. I had DDR3 before, and now I've gone to DDR4, and also I've gotten improved timings as well. If you see here in my parts list, I'll just go back to my parts list here. Yeah, for the RAM here, I went with a 32 gig 3600 CL16. And this Crucial Ballistics, I actually looked into it a bit, and this is it here. And it had really good timings, actually. So it was like 16 CL16 with 18, 18, 38. And comparing that to some of the other ones, a lot of the other ones were like 19, 19 something. So, I mean, it's minor anyways, but these just seem better, to be honest. And I'm not a big RGB person or anything. It's not even, there's not even a window in my case. So it's just under my desk. So I'm okay to not have the RGB and just have the better timings and have a little bit improved speed. So I set this up on the motherboard with XMP, so it is running at that speed that it's supposed to run at. That's something critical that you have to do in the BIOS when you first set it up. And one thing to mention here, and I haven't got to it in the video yet, but when I put the RAM in, I actually put it in wrong initially. And this is tricky because I put it in like the A1, B1 slots. But if you look at the manual, if you're only going to have 2 sticks in this 4-slot board, they suggest you do A2, B2. And when I had it in the A1 and B1 slots, I couldn't even get XMP to run, and it just wouldn't run at the right speed. But for some people, they might just put the RAM in and be like, there we go, I got 32 gigs, done. And you paid for this CL16 3600 RAM, and you don't know that you're essentially getting way lower because you just have it in the wrong slots because you put it in A1, B1 instead of A2, B2, right? So it took me quite a while to find that, and I don't have the link to credit the Reddit user, but some Reddit user mentioned that, and then I looked in the manual, and it's in the manual, but I'm not a manual junkie or nothing. So you see here in the video, I'm just kind of putting the processor in and making sure I don't break any of the pins. The trick to the processors and getting it right, there's a little arrow in one of the corners, and there's a million build videos. We can get into it. I built, I don't know if I mentioned it in the preamble here, but I built quite a few computers, like I said, thousands. So I have some experience with it, but it's always changing a bit too. So I only kind of just get up to date on what's going on with computers whenever I want new stuff. You see here, I'm getting ready to put a new SSD in. This was kind of a last minute idea to buy this. This was because I couldn't get the processor that I wanted. So I said, oh, if I save $160, maybe I can get something like this. Because I started looking at the performance metrics for it. See, this is a site I really like, and we'll get more into this for the CPUs, but Passmark software, they have some really good benchmarks on a lot of stuff. And if you see here, like the SN850s, that's the one I got. This is the one here. It's essentially one of the top ones on the list for 500 gigs. And like, as you saw, the price is pretty reasonable. So for $130, it was a huge jump. And I can actually show you here because I have a speed test that I did. I'll just drag it to the top and show you guys. So you see here the difference. On the bottom is my old drive, and my old drive was no slouch. Actually, let me just hide this for a second and show you guys a mention of my old drive. This is my old drive here, the Samsung 970 EVO, 500 gigabyte. And this was actually considered a pretty good drive, but this is PCI Express 3.0. And that was one of the tricky things too with the motherboard, where I needed to get the X570 chipset, because there are other chipsets that will support that AM4 socket for the processor. But at least in my readings, the X570 were the only ones that went to the PCI 4.0. And at first I thought, okay, sure, I'll go 4.0. I'd like to have the newest, but I didn't really understand the repercussions of it. But then when I started looking into it, it's actually quite a bit faster, because this was actually considered a quick drive, but it's a PCI 3.0 is like, we're talking different levels here, basically. So this is the one I have now, the SN850. And I did kind of cheap out a little bit in that you see here it's the 500 gigabyte, so it actually does limit your speed a little bit. You see here that the sequential read is 7,000 and the write is 4,100. That's still insane, by the way. But if you go to 1 terabyte, you see you actually get quite a bump up in the write performance. Yeah, did you lose a little bit with read? I think, was it 7,100 with read before? I think. No, they're both 7,000. Yeah, so it looks like the read stays the same, which was one of the things I thought was interesting. It's like, okay, well, if the read's the same, and with 2 terabytes, yeah, see, no matter what, read's the same. And it looks like the sweet spot might be the 1 terabyte. Yeah, possibly. But I couldn't afford it. You see, it's double the price, and you just get a little bit better write, but not better read. And going back to the speed tests here. So you see here, I did some speed tests. Now, these didn't really meet the mark. I'm wondering if it's because it's my system drive, or I'm not sure. I'm still kind of researching that. But you can see a huge difference here between them. Like, the one on the bottom is the 970. And you see its read is about 3,500 it's getting. versus the one on the top, it's about 6,000. So close to double essentially in read. And you see in write too, it's a good chunk better, like about 600 better megabytes per second. So those are pretty good speeds for something that you get for, what was it, like 130 bucks. It's a heck of a good thing, and it's one of the fastest, as you can see from the Passmark benchmarks here. And there's a couple others that have come out as well, and it's not the fastest compared to some of the things you can do, or if you're doing RAID or that kind of thing, but for the price, it seemed like a good deal, and I'm really happy with it so far, other than it's not exactly as maximum as I was hoping for, you know. It would have been great to see close to 7,000 or even over 7,000 for some reason, you know, just why is mine so fast? It'd be great, but the question is, why is mine about 1,000 slower than what they offer, so what they suggest? But that could be a lot of things. I mean, this isn't the most expensive motherboard. This was like a $200 motherboard here, and you can get like $500, $600 motherboards, and then you could say, well, what factor is that? I mean, I haven't seen Linus do any videos on something like that. You know, Linus Tech Tips is a pretty good YouTuber for really getting into the benchmarks and stuff. I'll just do a little commentary on what I'm doing right now. I'm just kind of getting the SSD in, or the M2 hard drive. Is it still called an SSD? Yeah, NVMe SSD, sorry. Using the M.2 slot. So I'm kind of I think I'm putting that in or I'm taking it out. I can't remember what level I'm at here. I'll skip ahead in the video too a little bit here just to show you. I'm being pretty delicate with it, but pretty quickly. So yeah, here's where I get to the RAM. Here's where I make the mistake with the slots here. Well, let me do that RAM for a bit. I'll just show you if I had any other links here. Yeah, so this, like I say, totally out of stock. 3 to 6 times faster performance we're looking at here. Here's the benchmarks I was telling you guys for Passmark as well are really interesting. And they kind of show you like where your processor kind of lies. And you can see here, there's that 5900X I was talking about, pretty close to the top of the list here, even up with the the Threadrippers and such, and the Epics. But you see AMD's kind of dominating the chart right here. This is in the multi score, I believe. There's also a single threaded score here. If you go single threaded, I think Intel does better here. Yeah, this is getting to their 11th gen processor that I don't know if you can buy yet. But you see here the 5900 really dominates as well. But the 58, what is this? Oh yeah, the 5000 series in general, the Zen 3s are quite a bit higher there. And you see my processor, that's the XT, that's the 3950. Yeah, mine's right here. For single threaded, that's still not too bad. I mean, if you think this is 2700 score, best you could get, I guess, let's say would be this. I was hoping for 3500, so it's quite a jump, but it's still leagues above. Like, where's my 40? Is my 4690K even on this chart? It is actually. So 2100. Actually, it's not the worst processor in the world. This is the single threaded scores, anyways. If you go to like the multi-threaded scores, I don't know if the 4690K makes the list. Yeah, it doesn't even make the list here. Whereas the 3900X stands up quite well at a 32,000 score. But again, the 5900X is doing quite well as well. I think I'll probably wait and upgrade like to the Zen 4, the Zen 5, whatever the next one is. Hopefully they stick with the AM4 slot and I can still use my X570 board. That's something I'm hoping with AMD. When I went to Intel in the past, I haven't even expected it. I just know like, okay, if I'm upgrading, I'm getting a new motherboard. But with AMD, there's a hope. So you see me here, I'm removing the thermal stuff that comes on with the processor, the heatsink that you get with the processor. Just because I had some somewhat better Arctic silver, I think. I don't know if I have it in my drawer right there. Yeah, here it is right here, actually. This it's not Arctic silver. It's Arctic MX4. I didn't mention that earlier, but I put that on in a moment, and it's just like a little custom thermal compound. But I think the tube was pretty cheap, and I've used it for quite a while. I'll skip ahead a bit now that I've kind of told you what I'm going to do. Cleaned it off, simple enough. You want to clean it nice. Make sure it's nice and dry, and then you see I put kind of some dabs on there. There's a lot of different discussions on the dab patterns there and how best to distribute it, so I'm not sure. My temps have been pretty decent, so I haven't really noticed a problem. But anyways, I kind of put it on, and I think that's the end of this video, and then I kind of cut to the part where this is kind of building all the board, basically. Like, I got the RAM in, I got the CPU, I got the hard drive in, I got one of the hard drives in, my new hard drive, but like I said, I also brought over the old 970 just as a spare drive. So that kind of gets into the next video here, which is where I take out my old computer. And this computer here, I couldn't actually find. It's an Antec computer. I really like Antec cases, but I couldn't find on the website this one anymore. It's like they don't even talk about it. It's called the Antec 1, and it's a pretty nice case. Like, that's it right there. Nothing fancy, no windows or anything. Like, Antec's got some other ones that are better now. Lian Lai has another brand that has some good ones. There's actually quite a few good case makers out there, but you got to watch out. But anyways, that's the case. So you see there, I'm kind of trying to take it apart right now and take the pieces out. And I'll just show you the pieces I'm referring to here. They're basically these guys right here. So that's them taken apart already. So it's my old motherboard, the Z97-E. It's the box is right there on top. It's sitting on. And again, it's an Asus one. Like I said, I really like them. I've also got an SSD that I had there that's sitting on the motherboard. That's something I took out that I really didn't use. I don't know why I had it in the case anyways. The processor I haven't taken out of the motherboard yet. It's the 4690, and the RAM that's in it too is the DDR3 stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much what I took out. And and there's the video card that I'm taking out right now. That's this thing right here. This I upgraded like a year ago or something, I guess, or maybe 2 years ago. It's what are they calling it here? The Nitro RX 580, 8 GB. It's actually not terrible, this RX 580. I don't have the benchmarks for GPUs, I don't think, right here, but it's not near the top. I mean, there's the 2000 series, the 3000 series from NVIDIA often are on top, but in comparison to this one. But it's still a pretty good card. Like, I was playing Cyberpunk on it the other day at the top settings, and I'm not an FPS person, so sure, there were some skippy moments here and there, but I thought it was okay, actually. Like, to me, that's okay. It looks good most of the time when you're just kind of checking out stuff. But it depends how competitive you are, and I definitely need a better video card, but that's another thing where the stock is kind of crazy right now and the prices are really driven up. But I like this card. Like, it's got a lot of gamer stuff going on with it. It's pretty good, to be honest. Like I say, I'm playing Cyberpunk on it. That's a new game at ultra settings, and it's not, I mean, sometimes it's like 30 FPS often, you know, but obviously it goes below that quite often as well. So in this video here, I'm just kind of taking apart the computer. Like I say, a lot of cables to take apart. You got to get all the header of all the LEDs and the power switch. That's some of the trickiest part. I think at some point you'll see me on the manual trying to figure out for the new motherboard, because it's not just something you intuitively know, like, oh, I built thousands of computers, this goes here, this goes there. It's like, I mean, there might be some standardization to it, but I always feel like anytime you assume that's the time, it's going to be slightly different. So just look at the manual. It's super easy in the manual. But yeah, what am I doing here? Got to get all the little screws out. And I think I had to actually get additional headers too for the bottom of the board. That's something too to be aware of when you're upgrading, is that if your new motherboard has different hole assignments at all, then make sure there's none that are like under there hidden. Like, don't just put it on and be like, oh, it fits enough holes. Make sure that you only have the ones that fit the holes in your motherboard. Otherwise, you could have some issues there. And make sure you have them all, just because then you get a more stable motherboard. And yeah, just talking about the power supply for a minute too, because you can kind of see it there. This is the power supply that I've gone with, the EVGA Supernova 750. I bought this like a few years ago. It's a bronze one, so it's not the most efficient. Like, it'd be cool to have a titanium or a platinum or something like that. But I think for my budget, it was pretty good, and it's been a solid power supply. You don't want to cheap out on power supplies. That's one of the biggest ones that fails. So I've gone with a good one here. It says 5-year warranty, so I feel like it's probably nearing the end of its life, actually, to be honest. But it hasn't got there yet. So what other links did I have? I think we've discussed almost all of them. Oh yeah, just getting to the motherboards for a quick moment too. This Gamer Nexus. This guy's got a good YouTube channel, and he's got some kind of good comparisons with these charts here. I think are from AMD, but they kind of lay out some of the stuff where you see that I was talking about, where if I can zoom in more on that, yeah, that's better. You can kind of see here that the Ryzen 3000 series, they kind of say the X470s and the B450s should be okay with that, but the future AMD desktops with the Zen 3 architecture, more just the X570s and the B550s. So you got to be aware of that kind of stuff. I mean, sometimes they'll have BIOS updates and make things compatible, but you want to be aware of charts like this and try to get ahead. And like, if you're planning to get a processor 2 or 3 years from now and use the same motherboard, then you should probably have one of the newer chipsets, so you make sure it's going to be supported down the road. And they talk about, this is just some other support charts, but yeah, this Gamer Nexus, he kind of breaks it down, some of the different chipsets, comparisons. And this is the motherboard itself. Like I said, Asus, they're pretty solid. It has everything I needed. I wanted a couple M.2 slots. I don't even need 4 slots of RAM. I don't know if I'll ever upgrade from 32 gigs. 32 is a lot, so I guess there's some RGB according to this picture here. I've literally never seen the case running without the lid on, so it just worked, and I just was okay with it and just walked away. Not an RGB person, but probably one day I will be. I need to get a new case. It's just not in the budget right now. I just try to maximize the budget kind of thing. So yeah, that's the parts basically. And just wanted to show you guys. So we've gone through the old parts. Yeah, you kind of looked at all of those. This is one thing I didn't mention is this little card right here that you see is in one of the PCI slots. That was like an M.2 adapter because this motherboard actually had a problem with going the correct speed. But it's a PCI 3 adapter and I don't need it with my new motherboard, so it's not something that I've worried about too much, to be honest. And at this point, I could probably show you how it's going to look when it's done here. And let's just jump. So that's essentially how it looks. That's the built machine. So I got the new, you can see I got the new red RAM in there. I got the AMD processor in there, the heatsink fan, you can see. But other than that, it's pretty anticlimactic. I'm not too much into showing it off. You know, it's just a utilitarian thing. But as far as that goes, and then talking about how it's extreme developer machine, I mean, when you get the 24 threads, you got 32 gigs of RAM, things are so snappy. Like it's really hard for me to even kind of explain to you just how snappy it feels when you're on a computer that has all this stuff set up and you just have the fastest this, the fastest that. I mean, let's say I'm at like the 92 percentile or something, or even lower than that, to be honest, because you can definitely, like if my budget was like about $1,100, you could always just spend $5,000 and of course it's going to be better, but it's not going to be 5 times better, most likely. So there is some kind of plateau, and I think for the budget, this is probably quicker than I need, to be honest, right now. And it does everything I want instantly, basically, including like my internet even feels faster. Just everything feels faster, like things I didn't think were related. Gaming's become a lot quicker. Like definitely my processor was a bottleneck. I'll just show you guys. Yeah, so this is me taking it apart. It's kind of an anticlimactic one. So there you go. I took the part, got the other hard drive, put the other hard drive in, put the new motherboard in, spent some time, I think, trying to figure out the header. I got the video card in. Yeah, there's me kind of with the manual shot, checking out the manual. Figured out the header. It took forever to figure out. And that was the end of that piece there. And then I think, what did I do next? Yeah, even longer with the header, just messing with the header. You really want to make sure you have that stuff right. So that's when you can have confidence to just put it in like your drawer and something and turn it on without being like I never even board booted first or tested or anything. I just kind of hope for the best, you know, and to be honest, it did work out. So I've got it all in. I did the little, shake, is it going to work? And you see right away, we got some power, we got some LEDs. That's a good start. Now, one thing that's interesting when you first turn on a motherboard, and it can kind of be suspenseful, is it takes a long time. Like, I think it's kind of setting up a lot of stuff internally, or being like, oh, what kind of RAM is in me? What kind of processor did he put in me? Kind of thing. And it's just it's flustered, basically. So you see here, I'm looking at my counter here. We're at like at least 25 seconds in the video. You saw I pressed power almost right away. So for people that build a computer and they turn it on and they're like, I waited like 30 seconds, nothing happened. We've already waited like 40 seconds. I don't think I even heard a beep or anything. And you definitely think it's not working. Like, we're at 45 seconds here, but trust me, I don't add any button presses or any sneaky press in the background. Nothing changed. But at some point, you see there was something happen with the monitor. It's like it kind of woke up, probably detecting the video card and not trying to use anything wonky. There we go, tough gaming. So you see that took almost an entire minute to boot up and to get ready. And then you see it boots really fast too. I think it goes right into Windows almost instantly. Yeah, right into Windows. So that was the first time I ever turned it on, and it worked, which was nice. And yeah, so you've essentially seen the build of my computer, basically, and we've gone through kind of all the decisions and all the parts and the different speed improvements. And it's not the fastest machine in the world, but like I say, if you got a budget of around $1,000, $1,100, you're doing an upgrade, you don't need a video card right away. You can get an insane amount of like developer machine and just like processor and RAM to throw around. I'm running virtual machines all the time, and I don't even think about tabs anymore, just opening like a million Chrome windows, and there's never a single hiccup, honestly. So that's what I always strive for. That's what I'm looking for with like any kind of computer, my phone, anything I use. It's always like, I shouldn't ever have to feel like I'm waiting, and it should be that I have to try to go faster to keep up with my computer's responsiveness, essentially. And that's what I have at the moment. So we'll see.
I'm not sure.
Oh, sorry. I have my computer wake word with my Echo, so he likes to interrupt as well. But yeah, that's the ultimate, and that's what this computer is. It's the extreme ultimate computer for developers, in my opinion, for that budget. So with that in mind, I think we've kind of talked about everything. We've already had my little Amazon interruption for the day. So yeah, if you like the video, if you want to any questions or comments about what I've done here, please leave them in the video and in the comment section. Throw me a like, throw me a subscribe. I got plenty more videos to come, and I really appreciate you guys checking it out. So thank you very much. Bye.